Good afternoon. I'm Helene Gayle, and I'm President and CEO of CARE. And I'm pleased to present today our work on overcoming barriers to equitable access to education. In the time that I have, I'd like to provide a brief background on CARE so that I put in context our work on education, describe our approach to our work in education, discuss some of the barriers to education and then programs that we're implementing to overcome these barriers, and finally, add some thoughts about areas for improvement in the future. CARE is a 70-year-old international humanitarian organization with a mission to end extreme poverty. We work in 84 countries around the world, and last year we reached more than 120 million people. Our work is comprehensive, but we place a big focus on education. We have programs in education in over 50 countries, implementing over 20 education programs and providing access to education for more than 5 million people around the world. Across all of our programs, we put empowering girls and women at the core of our work, because we believe it is critical to having the kind of long-lasting impact that we hope to have on ending poverty. Now, education is key to our mission for many reasons. It's essential for empowering girls and women and helping them to realize their full potential and become aware of their rights and their responsibilities. It also helps girls and women build the capacity of others by empowering them to take action and becoming influencers in their families and in their communities. And it also enhances other human capabilities, such as improving health outcomes, enhancing access to critical services, and last but not least, it helps individuals, communities, and countries improve their livelihood opportunities and economic status. Our approach to education is three-pronged: inside, outside, and after. We work inside the classroom, ensuring that girls and boys receive a quality education. We work with teachers, with communities, and ministries of education to create culturally relevant, gender-sensitive curriculums that include life skills as well as vocational skills. Outside of the classroom, we help parents and communities understand the importance of education. And then after school, through sports and civic leadership activities, we help empower students to organize and advocate for their rights. In addition, we think that it's important to include leadership skills in all of the work that we do. We recognize that leadership skills development should be prioritized to help negotiate relationships and redefine structures that inhibit future success. This includes development of girls' leadership skills, competencies, through equitable education and supportive leadership opportunities. This, coupled with advocacy and support to raise community awareness and influence, adds up to girls being able to exercise their rights, motivating girls to become advocates for change, fostering change at the individual, home, community, and national levels. Through our years of implementing an integrated, holistic approach to education, we've learned valuable lessons about the barriers to quality education for girls and boys and have developed programs to try to address some of these barriers. Now, this is not inclusive of all the barriers, but some of these that we particularly focus on are listed here. So, low social status. We know that families with meager finances are less likely to send their children to school, and if they do, they prioritize sons' education over daughters. High domestic workload. Girls' value is often seen as helpers for mothers in the home, and so they're not encouraged to go to school. Lack of quality education, limited by the likelihood that lack of quality education, limiting the likelihood that relevant learning is actually going to take place in the classroom. Early marriage. Once a girl is married, she's unlikely to continue her education if she ever started in school to begin with. Non-engaged communities. They may not perceive the value in educating their children, especially girls, and don't hold teachers accountable for teaching quality education. And finally, school safety and sanitation. Parents are often reluctant to send girls to school if the environment isn't safe. And likewise, if sanitary conditions like toilet facilities for girls or hygiene products for adolescents aren't available, girls are less likely to stay in school. So now let me give you some examples of programs that we implement to try to overcome some of these barriers. In Egypt, girls' lower social status often prohibits their participation inside and outside of the school. Girls of low social status often don't have the same opportunities as boys and often are not allowed the same liberty as their male classmates and their brothers. Through a recent project, we saw girls being elected into student council for the first time by both their male and female peers because they were seen as role models due to their ability to articulate themselves and envision change for their schools, a skill that they had acquired by participating in a leadership development program. Communities were also increasingly engaged and supportive of girls' new confidence and roles inside and outside of their classrooms. In Cambodia, traditionally higher domestic workload burdens such as fetching wood or taking care of younger siblings prohibits many girls from attending school. CARE has worked to ensure that schools are providing relevant curriculum and ensuring that caretaking of younger siblings isn't a barrier to school by providing early childhood education programs for younger siblings. Community attitudes and behaviors have allowed for the gradual shift in workload assignments and responsibilities previously assigned to girls. Through community engagements, parents, husbands, and brothers are now engaged in some of the same household chores that girls used to do so that girls can now attend school. In India, teachers are receiving training on improving their gender and cultural sensitivity while teaching. Teachers often teach the way they were taught, which doesn't always equate with equality or culturally relevant education. Beliefs about individuals' capabilities based on their social class or gender can prevent teachers from seeing the potential in their students. Many teachers also did not pay attention to the gendered needs of their students. Boys and girls often learn differently. Through CARE's work, teachers are creating lessons that are relevant for the local context and including teaching methods that differentiate between their students' different learning styles. As a supportive network, teachers are also holding each other accountable for providing quality education to their students. In Bangladesh, child marriage is a very common practice. Thousands of girls who are not ready physically or mentally are married off each year. Early marriage for these girls leads most often to dropping out of school, loss of independence, and they risk many health-related problems. Through empowerment activities led by CARE, girls have gained the confidence and the voice to speak up for themselves in their families and in the communities on issues that affected their educational and personal development. Through leadership development programs, they learned how to work together with their male peers to highlight issues such as early marriage and sexual harassment. These girls gained the support of local leaders and gained their support in declaring their villages child marriage free. And boys mobilized community members in advocating against sexual harassment, going door to door to gain the commitment of others to stop violence against girls. Shumi, pictured here, was almost a child bride, but instead is now a confident student. In Malawi, many parent-teacher associations and school management committees did not exist or weren't active. Through participatory approaches, these groups, which include parents, teachers, community leaders, and students, are now creating action plans and coming up with community-based solutions to address the challenges that currently face their students. And finally, this program in Yemen targets girls who were once banned from activities outside the home, not permitted to attend school, and not consulted in decisions that affected their opportunities in life. For many girls, because they're not supported in the decision to attend schools, it was not safe for them. Engaging communities and parents has helped assure girls safe access to school. Through extracurricular activities like radio forums, they've built their leadership skills and are excelling in school. These students are now being asked for their advice by their peers and are seen as role models in their communities. The girls' parents and communities are now supportive of girls, making it safe and successful for them to attend school. Key to learning from our experience is doing research and measurement to understand and then be able to share these learnings. Measurement needs have to go beyond basic surface levels, like measuring the numbers of students enrolled and whether there's the same number of girls and boys or gender parity. Neither guarantee that learning is actually taking place or that there's actually equality in learning. So we look at the multiple dimensions of educational quality: equality of learning, educational attainment, and whether this education actually leads to empowerment. We have to develop and test sets of measurement tools, and we think that these types of tools are helping us to better understand factors like changes in youth leadership, gender equity, and student and community perceptions about schools. We also know that change takes time, and so we've created a framework to measure longitudinal and holistic domains in education beyond just those surface indicators that I mentioned before. So our experience has taught us many, many lessons. There are multiple and complex barriers that prevent children and youth, especially girls, from education. These are different from each community and need special attention if we're going to create approaches to overcome them. Empowered communities can create the enabling environment for students' equitable access to quality education. Without community ownership and involvement, children are much less likely to receive a quality education. But we still need better measures of underlying barriers of education and of progress. Surface measurements do not do justice to the true causes of marginalization or measure sustainable progress against them. Longitudinal projects that focus on removing the barriers to education are critical. Based on our experience at CARE, we know that change takes time. Long-term commitments are needed to bring about lasting change. Additionally, greater awareness raising and advocacy is needed to ensure the resources and the policies that will enhance quality, gender-sensitive education and address some of the key barriers to accessing education are ensured. But I think a picture is worth 1,000 words. So let's look at this short video that I think sums up nicely what I've been trying to say.
Traditionally, girls are socialized to be good wives. They are not expected to express themselves in public places or in meetings. Their mobility is highly limited. But thanks to education, things are changing, especially education programs that involve empowerment activities.
Por parte de la cultura de esas comunidades era que las niñas deberían de educarse, pero para ser madres, para estar en el hogar, pero no para estudiar. La prioridad eran los varones para ir a la escuela. Niñas en ese tiempo se casaban a los 12 o 14 años. Una niña de 16 años, ellos decían, ya está vieja, o como madura es la frase. El trabajo consistió en cambiar esa parte, lo cual hemos visto buenos resultados.
Girls don't have somebody to look up to. Sanke is doing role modeling for the girls. We are building female teachers' houses so that a female teacher can come and live in the rural areas where there literally are no female teachers and they're only male.
We want to keep women and girls at the forefront of our work, whether it is food security and livelihood work, whether it is violence against women work, whether it is economic development and bringing women into income earning opportunities.
L'empowerment, ça nous a permis de créer une confiance et de renforcer cette confiance-là. Pouvoir accompagner les femmes, les amener petit à petit vers le même niveau que les hommes.
Through our work together as a global community, we can identify and address the complex barriers that inhibit access to education. It takes all of us to share knowledge, resources, and inspiration to change the situation. Education is a key enabler to lifting individuals, communities, and societies out of poverty. Malala's recent courageous acts in Pakistan are a timely and real reminder of the plight that far too many of today's children, especially girls, have to address each and every day. This quote is from a girl in one of CARE's projects. She's a representative of the real changes that we're seeing as a part of our education and empowerment work. All of us together can help girls like her realize the right to education as a result have a better and much more hopeful future. Thank you. And I think we have a couple of minutes for any questions. Any answers?
Thank you. You want to stand up?
Oh, please.
My name is Hassan Diab. I'm the Minister of Education and Higher Education in Lebanon. It's more of a statement than a question. This morning's initiative is a great initiative in as far as educating a child. Education of children, no doubt, means transforming their lives, which in turn transforms their cultures, their societies, their countries, and the world. There was a question that was, or a statement that was made this morning. I didn't have a chance to respond, which said that many countries do not accept non-locals into their public systems. In fact, when I accepted this position over a year ago, my initial decision was to accept every single student that applies to the public sector. Lebanon has around 1 million students in 3,000 schools, which includes about 300,000 in the public sector. At the time, most of the students were Lebanese. Now we have students from over 22 nationalities, including over 14,000 students over the past 2 months that have come from Syria. My statement would be if every government made such a decision, that would solve part, of course, not all of the 60 million that was quoted this morning, but at least part of that would be in absorbing a large number of students that are non-locals into the public sector. We have done this in Lebanon despite our problems in the public sector vis-a-vis quality of education, which we're trying to improve in many ways. But I would suggest that this would be a global decision that would allow students that, for different reasons, enter different countries that would automatically be accepted into the public sector. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your comment. And I think, you know, obviously learning from experiences like yours help to change people's attitudes and thinking about issues like that. Clearly, as we become a more global world and as we become more interconnected and frankly have some of the challenges that we see outside of our borders in different countries, I think taking creative approaches to that is critical, because uneducated children, no matter where they are, lead to instability, don't help grow economies and all the challenges that we know. And so educating a child wherever they are is probably the best way of assuring that kind of growth and equity. But as you know, everybody doesn't necessarily feel that way. So your type of example, I think, will be helpful and sharing your experiences, how to be able to maintain a strong educational system, continue to improve the quality, even while you continue to have increased numbers of children in that system. I think we have one more moment, and if we have, yes.
Hi, I'm Safina Hussain. I'm with Educate Girls in India. You're in so many countries. One of the things that I wanted to ask you is we work a lot at the community level, and I see that awareness and things can really help bring more girls to school. But a lot of the times we have our politicians who come in the newspapers and say, for example, in Haryana, one of the states, and he says, we have the highest number of rapes, so it's better to get the girls married off at 16. And that will reduce. You know, how is it that you, being in 50-odd countries, do you deal with these sort of institutional and political factors, which can sometimes have such a huge impact on girls accessing education?
Yeah, and I think, you know, and I talked about it a little bit, that having the engagement of communities is so critical, because if communities don't understand why it's in their interest to have their girls educated, then people will continue to put barriers in place. And so, you know, in the countries that we work in, we're very much involved with communities, make sure that communities understand why it's important to have their girls and boys attend schools. And that's how we've been most successful in kind of eroding those kinds of attitudes around girls' education. But it really does, you know, and as I also mentioned, it's long term. It's not as if one can just start overnight. It really takes a while, and it takes making sure you're working with the right community leaders, the right gatekeepers, and really helping to engage communities so that they start to understand why it is in their best interest to get their girls educated. And I guess...
Merci. Je suis Boyodé Essotina. Je viens du Togo. Et notre zone ouest africaine a connu depuis certaines années des guerres civiles et beaucoup de troubles. De telle sorte que dans notre zone, il y a beaucoup d'enfants réfugiés. Et comme l'a dit tout de suite le ministre de l'État libanais, et le Haut Commissariat aux réfugiés dans notre pays a intervenu au niveau du gouvernement pour faciliter l'intégration dans les cursus scolaires des enfants des réfugiés venus des autres pays, soit par la Côte d'Ivoire, le Libéria, la Sierra Leone, etc., etc. Et cela a permis ainsi de scolariser beaucoup d'enfants et même aider les enfants des pays anglophones, Sierra Leone et Libéria, qui sont de très bas âge, d'aller à l'école et de commencer même par apprendre le français. Et la seule difficulté, c'était comment leur donner les actes de naissance. Il y a eu une convention qui a été signée et on a fait des enquêtes dans leur pays pour pouvoir leur faire des duplicata de naissance pour qu'ils puissent évoluer au Togo. C'est tout juste pour aller dans le même sens du ministre de l'État libanais. Merci.
Yeah, thank you. And it's another good example, and yours is a multilingual example as well of how you're being able to integrate children from, who are facing conflict and refugee situations, including children who don't speak the language within the country. But I think more and more examples like that are very useful, and it's why, again, I mentioned how important it is to be involved in advocacy and policy change as well, because I think there are a lot of policy barriers to children in difficult situations continuing their education. And if we all believe that education is so fundamental to continuing to advance societies, we shouldn't have any barriers in the way of children having access to education, whether they're refugee or displaced children or whatever the issues are. So thank you for that example. Thank you.